conclusion of this great program tonight, that many of you who are here for the first time will grasp the message that the mayor-elect gave about becoming more involved. Now, I would hope that those of you who are here tonight for the first time will consider joining the People's Organization for Progress, because we are and have been for 33 years dedicated to building the type of movement that Mayor-elect Baraka was talking about tonight. And I know a number of you are new members. How many new members we have here tonight? Raise your hands, new members. Stand up, give the new members of the People's Organization for Progress. Give them a big hand. We're so glad to see you. We extend the hand of friendship, and we're ready to work together on that. So I hope before you leave tonight, you'll get a membership form. Membership forms are there on the table. Sign the membership form. That automatically makes you a supporting member of the People's Organization for Progress. And you remain a supporting member until you tell us you don't want to be a member no more. Not like you got to renew every year. But then those of you who are supporting members, I hope you will become dues-paying members. It's good to be a supporting member. It's even better to be a dues-paying member. Because when you're a dues-paying member, you can vote and help shape the policies of the organization. We need a mass organization that's dedicated to revolutionary transformation, to build a mass movement that can bring about revolutionary transformation. I don't use that word lightly, brothers and sisters. This is a time for revolution. When I met Ras Baraka's father when I was 17, I believed then that we needed a revolution. 43 years later, I'm 60 years old, I still believe that we need a revolution here in the United States of America. So now I'd like to bring forward the brother who was scheduled a month ago to be here tonight. And I'm so glad that he chose to come tonight, even though the mayor was going to be here. That didn't deter him. He is a brother with whom you are familiar, and he has dedicated himself to the cause of education for liberation. He is not just nationally renowned, but internationally renowned for his work in the field of education, and he's homegrown right here from Essex County. Our brother, educator Baruti Kafele. Give him a big hand. And he's going to talk tonight on making urban schools work.
Peace, family. What an honor it is to be here tonight, particularly coming behind my brother, Mayor-elect Ras Baraka. About a month ago, I called Brother Larry just to check on him, see how he was doing. I wanted to see him in the hospital, but then an email came and said, don't go down there, don't bug him. Then I found out he wanted us to bug him. So I called him, we talked, and he asked me to come down and share a few words this evening. And as I sat there listening to him, what kind of stuck with me was when he asked the question, how many of us know Maurice Bishop? And I hadn't seen too many hands go up. And that's not a criticism, nor a condemnation. It's just an observation. I'm an educator, and I'm going to talk education for a few minutes. But there's one reason, and one reason only, that if I was on that side of the room, and the question was asked, did I know Maurice Bishop? There's only one reason my hand would have gone up. And that reason is because my home away from home throughout the 80s and the 90s was on Lenox Avenue, known as Malcolm X Boulevard, in a small structure named Liberation Bookstore. And I lived in that store. I didn't have the money to buy all the books I bought, but I made sure that I got it somewhere. And I educated myself. And through educating myself, there were certain things that I just couldn't do anymore. And there were certain things that I just must know. And because I must know them, there's certain other things that I just must commit myself to and do. So when we look at schools, for those of you that don't know me or know anything about me, let me tell you a little bit about what I do right now, and we'll kind of backtrack and talk about what I used to do. Right now, I'm a young man that lives out of a garment bag, literally. I'm in about 3 to 5 states per week. That means I could be in anywhere from 3 to 4 time zones per week. Or I could be international, and then there's more time zones. And I live in the bag because I work in school districts. And I'm literally transforming schools all over America. But I couldn't have done it, or I couldn't do it, had I not made those trips to Liberation Bookstore. See, Liberation Bookstore is what did it for me. When I was in high school at East Orange High School and subsequently Woodbridge High School, that didn't do it for me. I didn't understand why I had to go every day, so I didn't go. And graduated with a 1.5 GPA. I walked the streets for the next 5 years and then enrolled at Kane University in 1984 after having walked around for 5 years. So had nothing, but went on in there and stumbled on Malcolm literally the first day I got there. So by studying or stumbling on Malcolm the first day I got there, it made that academic coursework quite easy. Because on studying Malcolm, I learned a lot about myself. Because in studying Malcolm, I learned history. I learned Maurice Bishop. I learned the New Jewel movement. So as a result of studying so much history, I came out of there in 2 years summa cum laude. So, but I'm not saying that to bring attention to myself. I'm saying that to bring attention to young people. See, in this life I live, I'm in literally hundreds of schools throughout the course of the year. I'm in schools in about 40 different states throughout the year for the past 3 years. I talk to tens of thousands of educators in terms of workshops and presentations. I interact with thousands of educators. And I want to tell you, as I stood there, I listened to I listened to Mayor Barack, Mayor-elect, and he talked about the systemic problems across the country. And I agree wholeheartedly. But as I stood there, and as I asked myself the same question every day about systemic problems, I'm asking myself as I'm standing there, Principal Kafele, what can you do to impact those problems that he just outlined? And pretty much I come to the conclusion as an individual, probably nothing. But collectively, as he said, there's a whole lot we could do. But while we're doing that collectively, there's some things as an individual that you and I have to continue to do. So I made a decision. Let me go to what I used to do now to kind of bring this together. I was a principal in East Orange, Plainfield, and Essex County for 14 years. They tell me that I did some good things. I'll take that. But within that, I wasn't independent. I wasn't autonomous. I had to answer to somebody for the 14 years. So although I knew the answers, although I knew how to fix this mess, I'm convinced of that, I still had to answer to my bosses. So I made a decision in 2011, despite the accomplishments that I made as a principal for 14 years. I said, I'm going to step out of that, and I'm going to be America's principal. How about that? Now, for those that don't know me, the question is, what does he mean by that? And I said, I can't be tied to a system in order to fix it any longer. I gotta be outside of it but I gotta figure out a way to get back in it, but as an independent consultant. And if I could be unattached, unaffiliated, but yet inside doing the work, then I can effectuate enormous change in the lives of our children. Because see again, Mayor Baraka spoke a lot about North. But let me tell you what I see across the country in approximately 40 states. I see a lot of phenomenal teachers. Let me be positive first, because I like to keep it positive. I see a lot of phenomenal educators, whether they be building administrators, teachers, central office, and I see a lot of phenomenal and high-performing children. But now that I got that out the way, let me go to what I really see. I see a whole lot of our children, starting with kindergarten, who have been written off en masse. I'm going to say it again. I see a whole lot of our children, starting in kindergarten, who have been written off en masse. I see a whole lot of teachers who tell me, Principal Kafele, I don't know what to do with these kids. But what grade do you teach, Miss So-and-so? What grade do you teach, Mr. So-and-so? I teach grade 1. I teach grade 2. I teach grade 3. And you telling me that you can't control? You telling me that you can't educate? You telling me that you can't inspire? Principal Kafele, I don't know what to do. And let me be crystal clear, I'm not talking about white teachers. I'm talking about anybody who comes to me and says, I don't know what to do. Well, see, when I come to these schools, I'm clear on what to do. When I was a principal in Plainfield, I fought that superintendent so much I was in the papers down there 21 times in 1 year. Because I had devised a comprehensive reform model for urban schools. See, we talk about reform, core curriculum, charter schools, and all these other reforms. But one of the things we don't talk about is the program within the reform. So I put together a comprehensive reform model, which I won't bore you with all the details, but I'm going to tell you some summary. But I couldn't institute that in Plainfield, so I said, well, I'm out of here. And I went on back to East Orange and got into another war with another superintendent. Some of you are probably familiar because I was on KISS all the time and Channel 9 all the time when they were running me out of town. So didn't get to implement it there. But then when I got to North Tech, when I met the superintendent who interviewed me since I was recruited, I told him, you gotta let me run this, or I don't have to be here. So he said, go ahead and run the school. So went on and ran the school, and we got the results. But in the meantime, no need for the full comprehensive program. But when I took to the road and started introducing this to schools, then I'm able to look back and see schools literally transform. So now, in those particular schools, I don't have to look at a kindergarten, a first grader, a second and third grader, who are so many grades behind. Don't have to look at a middle school age student coming in at the third grade reading level. Don't have to look at a high school student making decisions to drop out of school or whatever the case may be. Because the reform model touches everybody. But see, once again, systemic change. Principal Kafele can't change that single-handed. But I understand that if we go into a school with the right model, speaking the right language, with the right intentions, with the right kind of leadership, and the right kind of teachers who are getting the job done, I'm telling you, I don't care if a kid is coming from poverty. I don't care what his home life is. I don't care what the neighborhood life is. I'm telling you that an oasis can be created within that building. So in the city of North, for example, don't tell me about poverty. I run away from those conversations every time I hear them. I say to teachers all the time, I say to principals all the time, you knew that poverty existed before you interviewed for the job. So when you get there, don't tell me that now you can't do it because of poverty. Because if you're in that classroom, then you gotta have the mindset, you gotta have the attitude that these students are going to soar because I am their teacher.
All right now.
If you're the principal, then the mindset is these students are going to soar because I am your leader. And if you can't carry that mindset, then you're in the wrong profession. You don't belong there. It's that simple. So, with that said, I'm going to take a risk and bore you with some jargon, but I want to give it to you. And then I'm going to open up the floor, and then my portion is going to be done. Here's what I'm saying in a nutshell in terms of their reform model. I'm saying that number one, that model is comprised school leadership. That's important. So when we talk about school leadership, we're talking about that leader being that instructional leader of that school, that inspirational leader of that school, that informational leader of that school. How dare we have a school in an inner city of Black and Latino children, for example, and staff members do not know that Dr. Ben was born. Staff members do not know that Dr. Clark was born. Staff members do not know that Chancellor Williams, Cheikh Anta Diop, etc. were born. See, as leader, and I'm not talking about in a charter school, I'm talking about in whatever school, I needed my staff to know that these individuals were born. I needed my staff to know that Carter G. Woodson was born. I needed my staff to understand that when Carter G. Woodson said, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or over yonder. He will find his proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he'll cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. I needed my staff to understand that. And see, as I said, somebody in this room is thinking, but come on, Kafele, how you gonna pull that off? But see, if I got principals that I'm training that know nothing about that, then I gotta enlighten. I gotta make them understand. Because you could beat a kid down with reading, math, and writing all you want. That's not gonna make them smarter. That's not even gonna raise test scores. I found that out the hard way. But if on the other hand, you understand how to inspire, bring it out of a kid so he or she wants it, now you increase the probability that that kid is going to soar. So what better way to inspire the young man, to inspire the young lady, than to teach him and her who you are, so that you recognize who that is in your mirror. But I told you about 10 minutes ago, I had to break camp from being on the inside, but figure out how to get back on the inside while being free. So imagine being on the inside a free man, unbought, unbossed, and able to tell folks that your children in your school need to know who that is in their mirror when they look in. See, so now the principal is saying, well wait a minute, what do you mean? I'm saying you got a school full of youngsters who were born brilliant, who were born most highly capable, but you didn't tell them. So because you didn't tell them, you see the manifestations that you see. But imagine you put them in a climate and a culture, a mood and a lifestyle
where they can feel great about themselves. So let's say there were some skeptics in this room. I can tell you with supreme confidence, family, it is doable because I'm living. See, I'm living. I'm in these schools and I'm training these folks. I'm training them on how to connect with Black and Latino children. But in order for me to go in there with authority to say that this is how you do it, I got to demonstrate that I already did it. So if I've already done it, now I got credibility to go into the school and say, this is how it's done. So I said I won't bore you with jargon, but let me school leadership. But then I said there's five broad strands to this reform model. Number 2, school branding. Let me pose a test right now. I challenge anybody in this room, and I mean you can go to the best schools in the North tomorrow. I challenge you. Go inside that school tomorrow. Find 5 teachers. Ask all 5 separately, or I shouldn't say teachers, staff members, whomever. Ask the 5 separately. As a school, who are you? I can guarantee you that you will get 5 different responses. That is a major problem. See, we look at systematically what we got to do. But then when I narrow this down to on a micro level, and I'm looking at a school, a singular school, and I say school XYZ, who are you? Nobody in the school knows. Because each staff member has an opinion of who we are. But the opinion of who we are is not our identity. That's just our opinion of who we are as a school. So now Jalil, which is my generic name, Jalil is going to go into that building tomorrow morning. And Jalil is going to go into a school which has an identity crisis. It is a school that is dysfunctional relative to who it is, its very identity, so therefore the foundation upon which you stand. And yet we're going to expect Jalil to be able to navigate throughout that building for the entire day, whereas he goes from class to class and teacher to teacher, there's no consistency nor continuity as to who we are as a school. So within the reform model that I put together, we spend an enormous amount of time determining, well, what is our identity? See, if I were to draw on this wall or put a poster on this wall of 2 golden arches, there's nobody in this room who will question, what is that? Because millions and over the years, billions of dollars have been spent to ensure that you recognize the golden arches. It is the identity of the restaurant, and no name is needed. In fact, no menu is needed. All you need to do is walk in there, and as long as there's someone to serve you, you know what you want, because you know the brand of the school, of the restaurant. Well, what about the brand of the school? How does that school advance if it has not determined who it is? How does it advance if it has not determined its identity? The name on the building is not good enough. It's got to be a commonality and consistency relative to who it is and what it is, what it's about, where it's going. So what is its mission? I need to be able to gauge that as soon as I walk in the front line. What is its vision? What is its purpose? And how do we implement it in order to ensure that young people are striving? So I'm saying all that to say in a very summarized form, the brand of the school matters. Then the school climate and culture. When I say school climate, I'm saying the mood of that school. What does one feel when they walk in there? And I'm saying that whatever one feels, that's an intentionality that has to be put in place by every staff member in that building. But if one walks into a building and there's been no intentionality, behind creating a mood which is conducive for Jalil to have the willingness to strive for excellence, the chances are Jalil is going to be a failure because of the lack of intentionality on creating that mood. But then what about the culture of that school? What is the lifestyle of that school? And is it a culture of excellence, or is it a culture of mediocrity and failure? But there's got to be an intentionality behind creating. So I'm saying all that. And let me give you the last two. And then parental and community engagement, which is key. Because no school can operate in a vacuum, on an island unto itself. And then finally, young men's and young women's empowerment. A program within the school that literally teaches boys what it is to be a man and teaches young ladies what it is to be a woman. Now someone might have the question, but where are you going to find the people to do that? You go into the city of North and you tap into every brother, every sister in the city, and they become partners of the school.
Right.
When I look at the schools that I was a principal of, particularly North Tech, the highlight of my week, every week, was Monday, when it was required that you walk in that building in a shirt and tie, slack shoes, and a belt to hold your pants up. And then bringing in so many brothers, and probably some sitting in this room right now, who came to the school to talk manhood with my boys. That was an inherent part of the program. And I could stand here and say, if that part of the program had not existed, I don't know that that school would have done what it had done at that time. But it was a very important aspect of the total program, that young men's, that young women's empowerment program. So within that young men's and young women, now we're going right to that history. Now, if it's not being taught in the classroom, we're teaching it right in that cafeteria, that auditorium, that gymnasium, making sure that they recognize who they are. Because see, I can't have a school full of Jalils who look in the mirror and see the N-word looking back at them. Because see, what I taught, you can't be a black man and an N-word simultaneously. What I taught, you have to make a decision as to which one you're going to be. So we help them make the decision that I'm going to be a man in the truest sense of what a man is. So with all that said, this is what I do. This is what I do for a living. But as I always say, being an educator is not my job. I'm unemployed. It's not my mission. It's not my profession. It's not my career, but it's my mission. So waking up to one's mission every day, working with educators by way of children to increase the probability that young people are in fact achieving at the highest possible level. So as I close and open up the floor, if there's any questions, there's no way in the world that I could look at Jalil, that I could look at Jamela, my generic name for a young lady, and see failure in them. I got to see them not for who they are right now, but for what they will become 10, 20 years from now. You and I got to see greatness within them. Got to see extraordinary accomplishment within them. And as long as that teacher, whomever that teacher is, as long as that principal, whomever that principal is, sees greatness in Jalil and Jamel on a daily basis, sees extraordinary in Jalil and Jamel, sees those two young people achieving at the highest levels because I am your teacher, because I am your leader, then I'm saying to you, it's going to happen. Now let me plug something real quick now. I'm going to open up the floor. Some of you in this room, you know I plug this thing every day, but I'm going to plug it in. I got one day in November, I'm sitting in a rental car somewhere. And I said to myself, I got to do more. I'm not doing enough. Now I'm never home I never see my family. But I'm saying to myself, I got to do more. So I started making these videos, these selfies. Everybody talking about selfies. I said, let me get in on this selfie craze. But let me make it work. So I started making these videos called Message to Your Son. And some of you in the room know I started going crazy with them things. I was posting one literally every day, just a short 3 to 6 minute video where I talk to a young man and say, here's what you need to do to be successful. So every day I'm putting a new one on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and saying, here's another way to look at what I said yesterday. Here's what you need to do to get it done. And what I found, folks were watching the videos every day. So I kept on going. So I stopped at 130. So between November and March, or whatever it was, end of February, made 130 of these videos, got 50 more sitting on the computer, which I'll put out in September when school reopens for the country. And I'm saying this to you as I plug it. Boys are watching because they're sending me emails, they're sending me tweets every day. They're saying it's the best message I hear, which is what kept me making these videos, because it's crazy. I'm standing anywhere. You see the background, some of you. It's people walking by. I get out my car, pull the laptop out, don't care who's looking, start talking to the computer. Because as I'm talking to the computer, I'm literally, in my mind, I'm seeing millions of young men in my mind as I'm speaking. So now they get on and they start watching. There's a principal in the room sitting right here, one of my buddies, Principal Stallings, and Starn. He plays them over the PA system every day. So the whole school here, put your hand up. But he's not the only one doing it. It's principals across the country bringing the kids to the auditorium and having them sit down and watch the message. So I'm saying that to say this. On the one hand, as I close, I'm plugging that there's no money for me to be made because they're on YouTube. But on the other hand, I'm saying as a teacher in this capacity, as I sat down in that car and said, I got to do more, and here's one of the things I will do. Well, I'm saying to all of us in the room, and I'm talking to myself in the process, let's all look within and say, what more can I do? And I know it's folks in this room that I follow you on Facebook. You doing a heck of a lot. I know that already. But then look within and say, what more can I do to effectuate change in the lives of some youngster? What more can I do? So as I continue to ask myself that question, I went on and did the same thing with them selfies and created a channel for teachers. So Principal Kafele's message to educators. So there's about 30 of them up now. Then I said, what more can I do? So I created a channel for parents. So now a bunch of selfie videos for parents. But Principal Kafele, what more can I do? So they created a channel for the youth, including the girls. But then what more can I do? Created another channel for aspiring principals. You got so many people that want to lead and don't know what to do when they get in there. So I said, let me create a channel of about 30 videos showing folks who want to lead, and then the ones that already lead, they can look at it too. And say, here's some things you need to think about right now in order to become an effective school leader. But then I said, what more can I do? So I'm in the process now of writing that next book, my 7th book, for aspiring principals, to put it on paper to say, you want to lead? Well, here's some things you need to think about. But it keeps going, family. What more can I do? And we just keep asking ourselves that question, never reaching a level of fatigue where we can't go any further. Just what more can I do? And I'm going to close. When you do it within your lane. Because I get asked a lot of times to step outside of my lane. I can't tell you how many times since, get ready to say Rash again, since Mayor-elect Baruti, I can't tell you how many times since he was elected that folks are sending me emails talking about me becoming the superintendent in North. And as I tell them all the time,
Some of you in this room, you already know I use this language. It ain't my lane. See, I know my lane. I know my place. So I'm saying to us, whatever you do, there's that much more. Do it within your lane so that you can be maximally effective. Because when we step out of our lane and try to do somebody else's calling, then a lot of times we're not as effective as we would like to be because it's not your calling in the first place. You're out of your lane. So I know my lane. I stay in my lane. And that way I increase the probability for my effectiveness within. With that, I close.
Principal Kafele will take some questions now.
There's some issues in the state.
Outside of New Jersey, I don't run into state-controlled schools, right? I mean, if they exist, the question was the reception between school districts that are state-run versus those that are not. And I'm saying that outside of New Jersey, this is really a New Jersey thing. When you talk about state-run school districts, there could be a smattering somewhere, but I mean, when you talk about North Jersey City, Camden, Patterson, that's an aberration. That's not normal. Now Detroit's got some interesting things, or Michigan with emergency management and all that kind of thing. But this thing that you see in New Jersey, this is not normal. The core crash. It's pretty abnormal. And then the other comment you made about the releasing those other bids, I call myself allowing folks to catch up on because there's 130 of them in here. So that's okay. Appreciate it. Peace. Yes, sir.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Need a mic. You need to come to the mic.
Sitting right here, the author. You know, I thought about. Okay, sorry. The question was with the homicide bill, the homicide law. It's been in place since I think 2001. It's been law, but there's no district in New Jersey that has implemented this law. Now there are individual teachers who happen to be conscious, who are doing the right thing relative to homicide, but they're doing that in spite of homicide because they're just bringing that kind of consciousness to their classroom. But in terms of implementation of law, I've been saying it for years, since 2001. We can make that happen. You know, so going back to everything I heard Mayor-elect Baruti say about systemic change. When I look at those of you in the room who are my Facebook friends, you know that everything that I've seen published about the North Student Union, those students. I've been posting, I've been sharing. I want people to read that. I want people to see the stance these young people are taking, despite whatever adults it's been said are working with. But as I saw that, I'm thinking to myself, I wish they had homicide on their agenda. See, so if I'm a tie up a board meeting, if I'm going to stop a board meeting, imagine if a part of my platform, and I don't know that this is their part of their platform, I don't know, but imagine these young people and a part of their platform is that we want to see this law being implemented. We're not asking you to do anything out of the ordinary, it's law. We just want to see it implemented. I believe that they stand a better chance of success because they're young people, but it's got to be put on their agenda.
This is Assemblyman Bill Payne. He was the author of the homicide bill. Give him a hand. We're going to let him say a word.
Just one word. I think what's important for all of us, we talk about becoming active and more active, etc. This is the law of the state of New Jersey. It's a law. And every single school district in the state of New Jersey is supposed to be implemented. And there's about 550 to 600 different school districts. Every single department, Board of Education has a meeting, maybe a monthly meeting, etc. And during that meeting, there's a part of the public can get up and have something to say. And all we need to do is every one of these is to attend these meetings, and at the time when the public is given an opportunity to speak, we insist, we ask that body, why aren't you following the law? We insist that you teach it in Plainfield or in Wildwood or wherever you are. We can make that happen because they are violating the law. But as long as we're quiet about it, they're not going to do it. It's there, and if in fact they don't teach it, then we can bring legal action. But it's a law on the books, and we as citizens can go to a Board of Education meeting and say, the state of New Jersey requires you to do this, and we insist that you do it. And that would be one way of getting it implemented.
See, let me just add, and I got you. I'm going to go back to Principal Stallings saying he moved. Homicides being instituted is during middle school you saw. Right? See, I'm known to say leadership matters. Leadership is everything. Whether it be a school, any organization, this organization, leadership. Leadership matters. So you put strong leadership in place, whether it be a school, an organization, a company, a business, whatever the case may be, leadership is everything. And when you got strong leadership, then all those programs that need to be in place or whatever that direction is necessary within the organization is there because the rudder, which is the leader, is in place. Yes, ma'am.